Hello and welcome to another Royal Reviewer live pop-up chat, and today we are joined by the lovely Rory. I'm not sure if you can see, but he is behind me. There he is. He's sat on the arm of the chair directly behind me, so I'm not going to do any loud fan flaps. Can you see him? He's there. He's behind me. He's directly behind me anyway. He's been purring quite loudly. So hello and welcome to my live pop-up chat. Now, as we know, yesterday we had the breaking news that Harry and Meghan, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, were to get their own household based at Buckingham Palace. I'm not going to read the whole official statement again. If you want to see that, if you've missed it, then hop on over to the other video which I made yesterday. Now, yesterday, I think we were all quite a little bit shocked and surprised, myself included. When I made the previous video, I didn't really have or give myself that much time to let things sink in. However, I stand by pretty much everything that I said in the other video, but I have had some additional thoughts. So what I kind of want to do is update the previous video. This is kind of like a part 2 to my previous video, so I'm not going to try and repeat anything that I said last time, but I do want to just go over a few things, maybe clarify some things. Basically, we haven't had any new information. This is just things that I've thought about, things that we can discuss. And one of the things that I did touch on briefly was yesterday was where Harry and Meghan would have their social media accounts. And there's been lots of talk about this since I spoke about it yesterday. And there are a few scenarios that I would like to discuss a little bit later on in this video. So today is Friday the 15th of March, and of course we had the news on the 14th of March. So yes, I've had time to process the information. Now, what has come to light through a few royal reporters, they have said that actually plans have been in place for this eventuality for roughly 5 to 6 years. Now, I don't know what their sources are on this. However, it does kind of... Rory's just gone. I can fan flap now. So it does kind of fit in with what I said yesterday about that this would not have been something that was spare of the moment. This is something that has been planned. I do not know if it has been 5 or 6 years in the planning, but the palace in their announcement did say that it has been long planned. I don't know how long. 5 to 6 years does seem a long time, but I think it fits in with this being always the plan for Harry, once he got married, to have his own individual household, so that the two brothers, the two different Cambridges and what we now know are the Sussexes, to go in their own paths and directions. They both have different destinies. Of course, William is going to be eventually Prince of Wales, and I think it's just as much to get ready for William and Catherine for their future role as Prince and Princess of Wales, if of course that is conferred on them, which I'm sure it will be. If you remember, that is not automatic, it has to be bestowed on them. But once Charles is king as the next heir to the throne, Prince William, the Prince of Wales, the Duke of Cambridge, Duke of Cornwall, as he will be by then, will need his own individual household. So it's just as much about William and Catherine and their future as it is for Harry and Meghan and theirs. I don't know if I touched on I did speak about staff for the Sussex household yesterday, but I want to do a little bit more about that. So what we now know that we didn't know yesterday was that the Sussex household, the new household based at Buckingham Palace, will be funded jointly by the Queen and Charles under the Duchy of Lancaster, which is the Queen's income, and Prince Charles's income, the Duchy of Cornwall. That's of course their private income to fund their engagement. So it will be funded by both of them, which I think is quite good. And obviously, once Charles is king, it will be entirely funded by Charles's income under the Duchy of Lancaster. So they are, of course, sharing the cost of that household, and that includes all of the work and the engagements that Harry and Meghan carry out, including things like transport, clothing, anything to do with the engagements and work would be met by those expenses. Of course, they are having their own communication team, headed by Sarah Latham. Now, I did do a little bit of research after yesterday because I hadn't really heard much about her before, but she has worked previously with Hillary Clinton on her previous campaign, and she has also worked with the Labour Party here in the UK, I do believe. So I think quite an experienced member. And apparently Harry and Meghan were very impressed with her forthrightness, and I think she's going to be a bit of a stickler for detail, and so I think she'll fit right in. I'm not worried about that appointment whatsoever. I think it's a good fit, and I think she'll do a good job. The Kensington Palace communications team will continue to be headed by Christian Jones. So again, I think in safe hands. And like I said yesterday, which I want to reaffirm today, this puts Harry in pretty much the same position as has his uncles and aunts, the Queen's children, excluding Prince Charles, who has his own household. I am aware of that. Someone put that in a comment yesterday, and I said, well, of course I didn't mean Prince Charles. He does have his own household. But it puts Harry on the same par. And of course, when Charles is king, it just makes everything easy. It makes for a seamless and easy transition for when Charles is king for both William and Harry in their future roles. In particular, William, I would say, in that department. Now, like I said, there has been talk about the growing nearness of William's role. And I think William has always spoken about that his destiny is getting closer. And I think it is. There was talk about possibly the Queen when she hits 95, possibly handing over and there being a regency invoked. Of course, like I said before, laws would have to be changed for that to happen whilst the Queen is in good health, of sound mind and body. However, it could happen. I don't know. I can't see the Queen abdicating in favour of Charles. I just think there could potentially, possibly be a regency at some point to do with that. So we'll have to wait and see what goes on there with all of that. But like I say, it does play into the growing readiness of his role. Bear with me just a second. I've just had something come through. I just want to check something. Hang on just a second. I will not be a moment. Hang on. Oh, hang on. Nothing's come through. Sorry, I had a private message come through I had to respond to straight away. It's a family thing. Anyway, back to... Oh no, I've lost my chat window. Hang on. Sorry about this. You know when something happens and it puts you completely off your stride? Well, there we go. It happens to all of us. Okay, I found the chat room and I've dealt with my message, so all is good. Back to the Royal Foundation. People have been asking what is going on with the Royal Foundation. Yesterday, I spoke about it, and before I had time to really process it, I kind of said, I think it will stay the same, which actually feeds into what was put out by the Palace at the time of the announcement of the Frogmore move, which said that offices will continue to be based at Kensington Palace. Now, what we don't know is, we don't know if that is in the short term, or we don't know if that's going to be long term. So, I said yesterday, I think that the Royal Foundation will continue to be based at Kensington Palace. I stand by that. However, we don't know what form the Royal Foundation is going to take. Will it change? There are definite question marks about it. Jason Naff, spelled Knauff, is the special advisor in the Royal Foundation, and he has been charged to look at its future. So we don't know quite what's going to happen there. It could possibly be dismantled entirely. It could possibly be taken over by either the Sussexes or the Cambridges in its entirety. However, let's not forget the Royal Foundation includes all the work on mental health under the Heads Together umbrella. Now, the Heads Together umbrella has been really heavily associated with the Duke of Cambridge in particular, and the Duchess of Cambridge. Obviously, Prince Harry too, when he was part of the royal trio. So I would probably say, if it was going to go one way or the other, I would probably say that it would remain possibly more with the Cambridges than go to the Sussexes. just because of that really strong association. And William's work seems to be going down the path very strongly towards mental health. Um, I mean, don't forget, they all touch on the mental health issue that's been going on. But I think if it is going to separate rather than be dismantled, I would probably say it would go more towards the Cambridges than the Sussexes. I think the Cambridges will always have some kind of charitable umbrella or charitable arm out there. But like I say, I don't know which form the Royal Foundation is going to go in, and that is being looked at by Jason Naff. One thing I did think about last night was, and it's a query, and that is that if the Royal Foundation is going to be dismantled or split or changed in any way, why did they introduce Meghan into it so publicly? And this is the crucial bit, before the actual wedding. If you remember, they all sat on stage and she was introduced into the Royal Foundation. Now, if they knew, if it was a long-term plan for this household split, and they knew that, you know, potentially Meghan could only be in the Royal Foundation for a year or so, a year or two, why make such a big fuss of introducing her into it? To me, that is a query. It doesn't quite make a lot of sense, which kind of leads me to what I said yesterday about possibly there may not even be any changes to the Royal Foundation. It may, as another option, it may stay based at Kensington Palace, but still include Harry and Meghan. There would have to be, obviously, a lot of communication between Harry and Meghan's household and, of course, William and Catherine's with regards to the Royal Foundation work. So they may decide just to keep it as it is and, you know, work on things jointly and base it at Kensington Palace. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to kind of make all that big fuss about bringing Meghan in if then a year, 2 years down the road, it was always going to be split up and separated. That little bit doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. I'm just going to see what people are saying before I move on a lot further. Hello to everyone in the room, by the way. Obviously, I don't have time to say hello to everyone. Jerry says, seems obvious they would. They need a home in the quiet country, but they're also going to be in London a lot for work and need a household there. They may even have apartments at Buckingham Palace. I really don't know. Betsy says, love to hear your views. This is the place to go for the story. Well, I'm glad you enjoy my views. I've had a lot more time to think about it since yesterday. Sharon says it makes perfect sense for the two households. It's setting up for the future monarch. Tonya says, please everyone understand they are still family and will support each other. Of course they will. It's a household separation rather than like a family split. It's not a family split. They just have different charities and need this changed. Exactly. I would agree there entirely. Annette says, I'm confused. When you say household, do you mean, yes, office and staff. It's the official working household. Court, if you like. It's their court at Buckingham Palace. I'm not talking about the home, Frogmore Cottage. Annette says, as an American, it's the word household that throws me. In the US, your household is strictly where and who you live. No. When we say household, in terms of this, we are meaning offices, staff, work, court, if you like. The home is obviously Frogmore Cottage. I'm not talking about the move to Frogmore Cottage, although this will happen round about the time of Frogmore Cottage move, and it will be a transition. It will be a transition. It will not be immediate. Catherine says, I think in the near future, Meghan and Harry will have their own social media. We will get to that in a little bit. I have a lot to say about the whole social media thing. Okay, I think I have elaborated on the household thing, because I know people have been typing about that. Sharon says, I wondered too about Meghan's inclusion in the Royal Foundation. It makes sense that she may still be part. See, that's why I really don't think it's going to split up. People have been speculating that it may split, it may be disbanded. I've got a strong feeling it won't, and the two households will just communicate together on joint things or individual things for the Royal Foundation, but we will have to wait and see on that one. Right, now I'm going to move on because I want to touch most definitely on the social media split, if you like. So it's raised the questions. The Kensington Palace Twitter, just the Twitter account alone, I'm not talking Instagram, I'm not talking Facebook, has 1.6 million followers. Now, what will happen? Will the Sussexes go directly under the @royal family and be included in all of their social media updates? Like for example, the Wessexes or the Queen's cousins or Princess Anne. They may, but I've got a feeling that they may have their own because there will be a lot of posting to do. And also, with the appointment of their own communication staff, it makes sense that if they're having new communication staff, even if they are reporting and still under the umbrella of Buckingham Palace, it makes sense that they would have something of their own to communicate through. So I'm thinking, if I had to stick my neck on the line, I would say that they will get their own social media accounts. Now, I did a little bit of digging. I did. And I typed in what I thought would be most likely. So obviously we know that, apart from the royal family one, Kensington Royal for Twitter is obviously because of everyone being based at Kensington Palace. Will they go for the home name, Frogmore Cottage, for example, @Frogmore Cottage? Well, I typed it in Twitter, and there is already a curious Twitter account called @Frogmore Cottage, which was created in November 2018. It has no posts, it has no picture, it only has a few followers. So, could the @Frogmore Cottage Twitter account be some kind of what did I call it? I called it could it be an account that has been set up that is waiting to be activated and used by the Sussexes? Who knows? It could just be a random member of the public that set it up. Who knows? I don't know. I'm just saying the @Frogmore Cottage could be what they intend to use, and they could start from scratch. How would Twitter share the followers? Someone said somewhere that, for example, with the POTUS account, the President of the United States, that when there's a change of president, Twitter does something to split the followers. I don't think that will happen in this case. I'm thinking it will probably be a clean break with clean followers. Now, let's not forget, Meghan did have her own Twitter account with many, many followers. I'm not sure of the number of followers. I'm sure somebody might know. Somebody might tell me if they remember. But Meghan shut it down. But I do believe that even a shut down account can be reactivated. So maybe that Meghan could reactivate her old account and change the name on it, change the handle, get the handle changed to something else. And then therefore she would have followers. Again, this is an option, but I don't think it's likely. I think they'll just go from scratch and just build up their own following, if they do go that way, themselves. Just seeing if I've missed anything. So like I say, the Cambridges are likely to keep Kensington Royal and all of those followers themselves. And I've spoken about the @Frogmore Cottage account. Oh yes, Prince Andrew. Now, there was an important point I wanted to make about Prince Andrew. So, even though Prince Andrew's offices and staff are based at Buckingham Palace, he has his own social media handles. For example, @the Duke of York for Twitter. Now, I don't know why he has it and, for example, Princess Anne doesn't, or the Wessexes don't. I don't know. But Andrew has his own following. Maybe it's because he does... Well, I mean, Princess Anne does enough work to be able to have her own account. But anyway, Andrew has his own social media handle, which means that definitely the Sussexes could have their own social media handle. So that kind of backs up my idea about them having their own, because Andrew has it, so it's not unprecedented for them to have their own. Also, Prince Andrew, I looked at his account and it says quite clearly that although his communications team update his Twitter, he does actually update his Twitter himself occasionally. Any tweets that he posts, he signs off with an A and a Y, obviously Andrew York. So he does actually post tweets himself. So there is a precedent for members of the royal family actually tweeting or posting themselves. That sounds like it could be very attractive to Meghan and Harry. Meghan in particular, who, like I said, had very successful social media accounts in her own right. So, with this split, with possibly the creation of a new social media handle, Meghan and Harry could actually even be posting themselves, because there is a precedent through Prince Andrew. There you go, you get all the details and all the tea here, don't you? So I just thought that was quite interesting to look at, because I think that would be really up Meghan Street to be able to post her own things. So I've worked through all my notes, I think. So I'm now going to go back up and read some comments. And I hope this video has just updated on the last one. Okay, I'm not quite sure how far I'm having to go up. Hang on. Okay, I think I'm pretty much here. So, Becky says, does this mean that the office and staff and residents is all together? This is confusing. Yes, the offices and staff. So, okay. Buckingham Palace already have their own staff to deal with the Queen's household, Prince Andrew's household, the Wessex's household, Princess Royal's household, and they will all have their own staff that come under the main Queen staff. So Harry and Meghan will do exactly the same. They will have their own staff, their own communications team. They will be building their team gradually as time goes on, that is answerable to the Queen's staff. Of course, in time that will be the King, Charles. But they still have and operate their own staff. So they wouldn't have their own staff if they couldn't operate them. Sharon says, good, that is the best place to leave it, as it was Catherine's baby in the first place. I have got nothing, I do not know about anyone's baby. I think I've missed that conversation thread. They may have apartments at Buckingham Palace. I do not know if there are any vacant at the moment. Most of the Queen's children have their own apartments at the front of the palace, which is the bit that you see. I know Princess Anne does, and I think Andrew does. Live, Love and Love says, maybe they had introduced Meghan at the time. Since then, her fiance was working together with his brother. I don't know. It just seems odd that they would make a big spectacle of introducing her to the Royal Foundation, only, you know, to plan that 2 years, well, less than 2 years later, it would be disbanded. It just doesn't make sense to me to do that. Okay. MD says, I'm sorry, as an American, I don't understand why they don't just give one side mental health, which is large enough. Again, like I say, it could be kind of disbanded, but the mental health side kept and renamed. It could even be the Royal Foundation of the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge, and they still might maintain Heads Together. So essentially, it's the Royal Foundation, but under a new name, with the Heads Together stuff retained for the Cambridges. It could be that. I really don't know. At this point, we don't know what's happening with it. Mrs. BSN says, I hope it is separate social media accounts. Again, we really don't know at this stage, but there are certainly lots of different options. Tonya says, good catch, yes, for the Sussexes. Nova says, I saw the Frogmore Cottage account on Twitter also, and I believe there's one on Instagram as well. Very suspect. Oh, that's the word I was looking for, dormant. I was trying to search for that word, dormant. I believe that account is a real account, and I think it's just a dormant account ready to be activated. Mark my words. I don't know. I could be wrong. Like I say, the @Frogmore Cottage could be anybody in the world has set up that account, but it just looks very suspicious, I have to say. Oh, I agree, it is such an exciting time to be a lover of the royal family. Olivia says, I think it is. And yes, I think people are agreeing that Meghan might be happy to have social media back. Mrs. VSN says, Dickie Arbiter had the best interview on Aussie News, I believe, and dispelled so perfectively. Perfectively, is that a word? Perfectly. Any angle the reports try to use with the Queen's keeping the Sussexes. Oh, yes, I've seen the rumours. People are saying that it's because the Queen wants to keep them in check. It's not. Because all the Queen's children and the cousins and all that are under the same umbrella. It's just, it makes more sense to move it there. It's nothing about keeping anybody in check. Yeah, maybe the others don't want their own, and that's why Andrew got his. Mrs. BSN says, if someone not related to the royal family owns the Frogmore Cottage handle, as it should be verified, etc., on Twitter or Instagram, someone may get paid if that is what they want to use. I don't know. Again, yes, perhaps somebody could be paid off to get that handle, but I don't think if it's a dormant account, they would get it verified yet, because that would give the game away, wouldn't it? So if they're trying to be dormant and low key, I don't think there would be a verification on that yet. Maggie says, I feel like they should follow Andrew's lead of having their own handles. Annette says, Princess Anne reportedly doesn't like cell phones, much less social media, so maybe that's why she doesn't have one. Again, possibly. EAO says, could it be we are reading too much into this? Yes, it is most definitely possible. But it got me suspicious anyway. Okay. Mrs. BSN says, I saw the Frogmore Cottage Twitter account when the move was announced. We'll definitely wait for the official engagement. Princess Anne has... Well, actually, she has two apartments. Someone's asking about St James's Palace. Princess Anne has an apartment at St James's Palace and Buckingham Palace, even though they are very, very close. But, of course, any of her social media is handled by Buckingham Palace. Catherine says, instead of saying household, they should just say court. I think it's because court sounds very pompous and old-fashioned. I like it. I don't mind it. I have no problem with court, but I think household is the more fashionable way of saying it. Mary says, if David hadn't abdicated, considered that he and Wallace never had children, I made a video on that. Go check out my video. I did make a video on it. Basically, the Queen would still be Queen. Beverly says, I agree, court is easier for us Americans to understand. It's always been referred to that way throughout the centuries. Well, it's kind of like Buckingham Palace has its own court, and then there's kind of like courts within courts. So there's households within the main court. I know it's confusing. Because offices doesn't sound... It just sounds boring. Yes, by the way, if I've missed any questions, sometimes it kind of jumps down. Then repost. In fact, I'm going to put it... Oh, you know, I didn't have it on live chat. I had it on top chat. Okay. So I probably missed lots of different comments. How are we doing for time? Oh, 428 watching. My goodness. That's a lot of people watching. So I hope in this video that I've kind of cleared up a little bit more from yesterday. I'm sorry that we don't have too much official details. I'm sure that more and more will come to light as time goes on. And as I know more and more, I will of course let you know. We are in a period of speculation. Annette says, do you think Prince Harry has served enough and now might be announced for induction in the Order of the Thistle or Order of the Garter. I imagine that the Queen will be thinking about different honours and different things, including things like the Royal Family Order for Meghan. Well, again, we'll have to wait and see on any of those things. Brenda says Princesses Beatrice and Eugenie run through the same office now that the Sussexes are working it out. No, they don't. They are completely independent of the royal family. They don't come under any Buckingham Palace offices, any official offices, because they are not full-time working royals. Ubernet says, can Donald McCabe, the Queen's Communications Secretary, can he block Harry and Meghan's posts? I don't think it quite works that way. I think their own individual households operate independently, but they are accountable to him. So, for example, if they were to put something out that was, like, really crazy, I don't know. Let's just say they put something out that was really, 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 really crazy. Like, I don't know, happy birthday, Mom, to Doria. I don't know. Perhaps Donald McCabe might not think that was professional, and he might have something to say about it. But I don't think with a professional team there's going to be anything that the uppers would have any problem with. DC says, I agree with you. This is just a simple move of household offices or courts, and Harry and Meghan moving to a new home. Exactly, and again, we still don't know when the Frogmore move is. Reporters said weeks ago that it was only going to be in a few weeks' time. We haven't seen any evidence of any move. Again, I'm still thinking mid-April for Baby Sussex to appear, although babies come whenever babies come. People are now saying that she's going to have Baby in the Lindo wing. There is no confirmation on that. Any videos that you've seen saying the Lindo wing, although that is my preferred option, I do think it will be the Lindo wing, but there has been no confirmation on that. So all these channels saying that they know where she's going to have the baby, they don't. It is still speculation at this point, but I do think the Lindo wing is most likely out of all of them, although it could also be the Portland. Again, we don't know, but I do think Baby will be born in London at some point. Again, Meghan's maternity, people are saying that there's no engagements booked. That is true. There are no official engagements announced or booked or showing up anywhere, but I'm still not discounting maybe 1 or 2 appearances in between now and the end of March, which is when I think she will start her maternity officially. So again, we'll have to wait and see. If we get to see Meghan, good for us. If we don't, then have a good maternity. Do I think Beatrice and her boyfriend are in a serious relationship? Yes, otherwise she wouldn't have gone out with him and paraded him to the world. No, there is no Duchy of Sussex. In terms of land, anyway. There is a Dukedom of Sussex, which I suppose could be classed as a Duchy of Sussex, but it doesn't come with any land or money or wealth. Why does Katie Nicholl think there is still a rift between the Duchesses? I don't know. Maybe she wants people to read her column. Okay, right. I'm going to leave it here because I think we've said all that there is to kind of say, and we've speculated on all that there is to kind of speculate on, although hopefully my speculation is sensible speculation. That's what I'm working on, that I have actually looked at what's there, what we do know, and hopefully I've made sensible predictions which may or may not turn out to be correct, but at least, hey, we've spoken about what could happen, what may not happen. I think I've tried to be incredibly unbiased, and we've discussed lots of different options about what might happen. Now is the frustrating but fun part, which is waiting to see what happens. So, if you have enjoyed this video, please give it a big old thumbs up. Don't forget to share it on social media, and also hit the notification bell so that you know whenever I upload a new video. And please subscribe to the channel. Also, please subscribe to my second channel, which I am going to be updating new content very, very soon. In fact, I may even do something tonight on my other channel in the form of a pop-up chat. I don't know. But you've got to subscribe to it to make sure that you're notified. So I'm going to type in the chat room the name of the channel, if you don't know already. It's Elliot's British Life. So I've put that in the chat room. Go find the channel and subscribe, because that will really, really help me. So, from me, for now, on this channel, from me in Shropshire, mwah, to you all, goodbye.